Evening, everybody. How we doing? How we doing? So, just to kind of recap what's been going on between Friday and Monday, right? We had President Trump talk about. He tweeted something about China getting aggressive and wanting to impose a 100% tariff on China. And yeah, Um, that kind of shook up the market, as you can clearly tell. We had a from the high of that move to like down here, a 1,200 point move down. Um, and then over the weekend, he said something like, we don't want to do wrong by China. We don't want a crisis for them. China doesn't want that. We don't want that for them. So like that kind of put the fire out on this whole move, and you can see if you zoom in on what happened in the overnight. So like we closed on Friday, all the way down here, right? And this is I cleaned up my chart because it looked messy because it just ripped through all the support zones that I had and all that. Hit a bunch of draws on liquidity. Someone even mentioned like, oh, we hit a weekly for value gap, blah blah blah. Yeah, we did. Um, but the fact that they want to give credit to their analysis rather than understanding, you know, the macro context. Like, oh, President Trump said this, and then he said that. Kind of like taking back a bit of the, I guess, kind of the fear that people had whenever he mentioned those tariffs, because we've seen how price reacts to big tariff announcements in the past. We had like a continuous sell off when he was talking about that for like an entire month. Um, but yeah, and then we've been at all time highs. People were like, something's gotta give, and a tweet, sorry, a tweet was more than enough for that to happen. So 1,200 point dump, and then we closed down here and we opened up here. So it was a 354 point gap up, right? So we have this NWOG new week opening gap marked out, the previous day low. So today, you know, if you look at the calendar, we had a bank holiday, right? Um, Columbus Day, right? And that's I saw that. I'm like, yeah, I'm not trading, and the fact that we had the sell off, I did expect today to be bullish, just because I did see the tweet around the time, like maybe like an hour into Asia Open or something like that. And I remember, screenshotting like, oh, everything's recovering, like NQ, ES, YM, Bitcoin, even freaking gold. But gold's proven to be just a safe haven in these type of situations. It's just been bullish even since the announcement. Um, but yeah, so today, what I saw, and this is mostly hindsight speaking, we had a 4 hour gap all the way down here. Um, Price just kind of, you know, had a big rip off Asia Open, then kind of consolidated, had a bit of a move on London, then we took London lows, Asia lows, we took all that, and then market open finally took that low, respected lower view up end into the 4 hour FEG that we had marked out. We can drag it all the way back here so you can see what it's doing, right? So we respected this 4 hour gap, and this is like the best trade possible. If you got this move, great. And I was seeing it like right after it happened. I'm like, there's no way NQ actually gave all nearly a 200 point move, a 180 point move on a freaking bank holiday. Some people might see this and like, yeah, this is just ranging, but in my eyes, it's like this is an insanely nice setup. Even up here, um, if you took a trade, like say like here, you would have been stopped out if you were targeting IB high, but still a good trade. Maybe you had a chance to trail and got stopped in your trailing stop. But this trade just seemed nice because if you saw some more failed selling down here near these lows, saw more failed selling, saw we sustained that lower VWAP band, retesting that 4-hour FG once again. And this is also near the end of that 10 a.m. candle. So the 10 a.m. candle actually opened, moved down. So you want to position yourself near the wick of that 4-hour candle because it is a 4-hour FG. And maybe you saw some failed selling. Maybe a CVD divergence, that would have been nice. And if you caught this, maybe you put your stop at the IB low. Pretty wide stop, 40-point stop if you do that, but it's a 4R targeting London highs. Pretty solid move. If you were more aggressive with your stop, you had your stop up here. That's also fine. Or even if you do this, like either way, you could have caught a solid RR. If I traded this day, I would have probably eaten a loss and then caught a win. But obviously I didn't, ended up deciding not to trade because bank holiday. So now coming into this week, I'm gonna have to be very patient, very aware of the macro context. We have this resistance zone that we had to get through, which just looking at a volume profile, it is a low volume node. So if we go from here to here, right, there's low volume here. I think it's from like all-time highs actually that I was looking at it. Yeah. So from all-time highs to where we are now, big low volume node here. And this just marks out a 1 hour fair value gap. So if we look at it in the 1 hour, that's what that looks like. We can probably extend it to like up here, maybe up here. Yeah, I'm actually gonna do that. So we do have this area to work through. I feel like if we just continue to push through it, then we're gonna be bullish. So gonna have to be very patient to see what price does, because we could just accumulate into the morning. We're gonna have to play off of what price does then. But yeah, that's kind of what we're dealing with now. Then Friday, we can even replay Friday to see, how you could have been cooked on Friday. Just looking at it here, I think this was a resistance support. We can just ignore that, but just looking at a volume profile, kind of get a clear idea of what we were doing. Um, looked like we wanted to break above the value area high. You're gonna like not extend it. Ooh. So looking at a volume profile from here to here, we manipulated Asia lows in London, then London pre-market, manipulated that, recovered, and then it looked like we were sustaining value area low. If you look at a VWAP, right, actually gonna make it the overnight with our upper and lower bands, and here it looks like we were breaking above the upper VWAP band, and this is like right before the new stump. I could have seen myself losing this day. Like, I could see it. And, like, honestly, I felt like I'm just too influenced by knowing what happened. But I think I had a friend of mine who traded this day and just got destroyed by that candle. But just thinking of it in terms of playing the volume profile, playing the VWAP in lower and upper bands, you're like, okay, we're sustaining this VWAP. Maybe you got in a trade like here or maybe here. See this clear wick, right? Maybe you see something like this. You would have been cooked here. You're like, okay, we're sustaining the lower VWAP band. Let's say this is your second try, right? Maybe you have a 20-ish point stop. You're starting all-time highs. You have a solid RR. It's looking good. Maybe you adjusted your stops here. this is like best case scenario. You adjusted your stops up here. Um, you also notice we were failing to break this low volume node area, which is a 1 hour gap. We failed to break it once, twice, now the third time, because the 9 a.m. candle um, failed there. So you're like, okay, cool. And then immediately after, we get a dump. So yeah, like, and it's not even something that gives you the opportunity to like close in time, because it's like it was a 200 point move within a 5 minute candle. Looking at a 1 minute, I think this was a 50, maybe 100 point move. Yeah, 100 point, 84 point move, 85 point move. So I understand why people were looking for longs. I probably would have been looking for longs as well, because of all time highs context. We're very close to there. I think the only thing that might have been if I saw it in the moment, I didn't trade this day. I decided to sleep in. I was up 1.2K on my eval, had a pretty solid trading week, and then I just ended up going to bed really late the day before. So it's just like, it's a Friday. If I miss this out, like I remember waking up in the morning, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just sleep in. Like, it's fine. I'll close the week green. It'll be fine. No worries. And then I saw this. I'm like, I'm glad I didn't trade today. But yeah, and there's people that, they were in shorts, caught this move. There's people that were in longs, were cooked. Like, I've heard multiple perspectives. Um, the only thing that I could have seen for shorts was if you were playing the range. Because this looks rangy. In the 1 minute, it looks very rangy. If you look at the 5 minute, it looks a bit choppy. To me, it does look like we held this, resistance area. But even then, because of the all-time high context and how close we were, I just would have been more um, inclined towards longs. That's it, really. And we were holding lower VO band. We were just holding everything, and then this initial break would have probably led me to like, okay, we're sustaining the lower VO band, and we broke up everything. Um, so yeah, I would have probably been cooked this day. Not gonna lie. And then here, it just looked like we failed to break the value area high. So maybe that's one of your signs to, you know, step away. Maybe you look at it here. And then look fails to break the value area high. So maybe this is the candle where you end up closing. If you somehow see the tweet right before it dumps, like if you see the tweet, it came out I think at 57. If you manage to get out in this wick, you saved it. But yeah, crazy trading day for sure. And then yeah, just coming into, we're probably gonna get rid of it. Oh yeah, we're gonna get rid of that. We're gonna get rid of this. Yeah, coming into tomorrow, I have previous day low marked out, previous week's low marked out, this new week opening gap, previous day's high. We've already broken it in Asia. Not ideal, but I mean it was pretty close. If you look at like where Asia opened, we opened like what? Opened right here, 50 points away from it. It was likely they were gonna tag previous day high, but I didn't want to trade it. Obviously, I don't trade Asia, especially not in Q. That's just not my style. I know some people that do, and they do well with it. Great by them. I don't do it. I feel like Asia trades take a long time to play out, um, and I'm comfortable holding trades in New York for longer periods of time. But with Asia, it's like I don't know. It's I'm new to that. That's not my style. And with New York, I know like around the time that I'd be like, okay, if this doesn't play out by this time, I'm probably gonna get out because it's probably not gonna play out. It's probably just gonna chop me out or something. But, anyways, yeah. Coming into tomorrow, this is what we're dealing with. Um, there's not much to go off of here, truly. Maybe this 4 hour gap. Um, Gonna have it extended till 2 tomorrow. maybe this gap up here. But I feel like if we get all the way down here to this hourly gap, I'm probably gonna want to see price trade into the previous day low and new week opening gap. But gotta see how we do that. If it's a slow stair step towards there, okay, it's a slow retrace. If it's an aggressive dump, then that's a different story, right? It's gonna have to see play by ear, truly. I feel like it's one of those days where you're gonna have to be very patient and waiting to see a clear direction. It's gonna be very hard to catch the top or bottom of the move because you're bouncing between bearish and bullish confluences. So yeah, you're gonna have to be very patient with it and just play it by ear. There's not much to say, not much to do other than that. Um, but yeah, stay patient during this week. Very, very patient. If we look at the economic calendar, there are some tentative news for the week. We do have Powell speaking tomorrow at 11. 11 my time, so that's 12, maybe? Yeah. So 12 EST. And yeah, gonna have to be very patient because the political and economical like environment, I guess you could call it that. Just kind of the way things are unfolding right now, you're gonna have to be very patient and waiting to see a clear direction. You don't want to get, you know, chopped up because of something, or get cut in something like this, get caught in something like that. But yeah, just very patient. No trades for me Friday. No trades for me today. Gonna have to see what the week brings. I did take a very quick scalp in gold today just to reset my inactive trading days count. It was like a 20 cent loss, so it's nothing. It was like 2 ticks of profit, but with the commissions, it was a 20 cent loss. But it's whatever. Yeah. And then with gold, I don't pay that much attention to it lately. It's been hard for me to catch it, but this is just ripping. I keep marking new support zones because we just keep ripping, continue ripping, continue ripping. But yeah, I mean, maybe we'll look at it tomorrow, see what we have there. I keep having to mark out new all time highs. And yeah, that's kind of what we're dealing with now. Then we have NQ and ES. Gonna have to be very patient with it. There's not much that I can say about it really. That's really all my analysis is. Just mark out my key levels, mark out my low volume Milton for rally gaps as best I can, mark out key liquidity pools, pre-size high, pre-size low, opening gaps, um, session highs and lows. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up the trade recap or no trade recap. But yeah, hopefully I'll catch you on the next one with a solid ass trade. Peace.